In today's video, we're going to go over the Kaplan Nursing Entrance Exam, the KNAT test. We're going to go over the writing section, and we're going to cover each and every topic that's on this section of the test so that you know exactly what you should be studying and what you don't need to worry about studying. So hopefully this is going to save you guys some time and get you studying and off in the right direction. Now, this section of the test is 21 questions, and you'll have 45 minutes to answer these questions. You'll be given a set of passages and have to answer a few questions for each of those passages. And they're going to test you on things like passage development, paragraph logic, mechanics of writing, things like that. So when we want to dive into the first topic, it's going to be spelling. So you really need to know things like vowels, consonants, suffixes, plurals, homophones and homographs. Right, so a homophone has the same pronunciation but different meaning or spelling. So an example might be something like bear, where it could be B-E-A-R, or it could be bear, like barren, not having anything. While a homograph is spelled the same, but it has a different meaning. So this could be like a word like bark, or it could be a dog bark, or it could be bark of a tree. So know the differences between homophones and homographs. Know commonly misspelled words. The rules of spelling, like I before E except after C, changing the final Y to an I, knowing when to drop the final E. These are all things that are going to be under this spelling topic. You're going to need to know capitalization. Now, this seems pretty straightforward and something that kind of makes sense and we think we all know, but it can get a little bit tricky. So we're talking about things like knowing when to capitalize geographic locations or event names, organizations or publication titles, individual names, professional titles, months, days, holidays, things like that. So make sure you brush up on that and are familiar with it. Now for punctuation, you're going to need to know the terminal punctuation, which is the ending punctuation, things like periods, question marks, exclamation points, things like that. And you're also going to need to know internal punctuation, so that's your commas, your semicolons, colons, everything that kind of goes within the sentence. And then there's also things like apostrophes, hyphens, quotation marks, things like that. So be familiar with all the punctuation. And when we're talking about writing, we're going to need to know things like nouns, know how they're used in sentences, know the types of nouns, know singular and plural nouns, common and proper nouns, concrete and abstract nouns. Make sure you have all of that down pat. And along with that, we'd also talk about pronouns. So know how pronouns are used in sentences, where we can talk about subject pronouns, object pronouns, or possessive pronouns. Those are going to be the three kinds that you'll need to know. And then there's also relative pronouns as well. Adjectives and adverbs. These are things that you're going to need to know the difference between the two. You need to know, adjectives and articles like a, and, the. You need to know adverbs, how they describe words, how they describe adjectives, and how adverbs describe other adverbs. For conjunctions and prepositions, you need to know the types of conjunctions and prepositional phrases. So an example of a question that you might see on the test for this would be something like, identify a sentence that demonstrates the correct sentence structure. And for that, you're going to need to know, the conjunctions and different prepositional phrases. Verbs and verb tenses. You need to know the verb forms. So those are the base, past form, and participle form. You need to know how to use verbs. So knowing how to say things like they ate, I walk, we went, she seems, and know about helping and progressive perfect tense verbs. To be, to have, to do. Know how to use all those things correctly within a sentence. You'll need to know the verb tenses. So this is going to be the present, past, and future tense. And there's also the present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect tenses. So be familiar with those. And when we talk about progressive and perfect tenses, examples are going to be things like the present tense, I am walking, or the past tense, I was walking. So know how to use all those things correctly within sentences. Now we're doing a lot of talking about sentences, so naturally you're going to need to know the types of sentences. We're going to talk about simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, parallel structure, and passive and active voice within sentences. Now, question examples for these types of sentences would be something as simple as identify a simple sentence or identify a compound complex sentence. So knowing those differences and what they are and being able to recognize them easily is going to help you on this section of the test. Now you're going to want to be familiar with the types of clauses, right? There's independent clauses, dependent and subordinate clauses, coordinate clauses. So you're going to want to know the differences between those, how to use them correctly. And an example question that you might see would be something like, which word correctly links the clauses in a sentence? So knowing those clauses is going to help you answer a question like that. Subject and verb agreement, knowing the roles of subjects and verbs within a sentence, how they're used in simple sentences, knowing how they're used in complex sentences, and knowing really regular verbs versus irregular verbs and what the differences are there. Now, before we go on much further, I want to make sure that you guys check out the links in the description of this video. There are links to our free Kaplan Nursing Exam practice test, our online course, and our free Facebook study group that has thousands of members. That's an awesome community, and I want to see you guys there so that we can all help each other out. Now, if you have any questions, anything related to this test, this video, leave a comment below. We reply to each and every comment. Now, modifiers, direct objects, and indirect objects are something that you'll see questions on. So let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. Modifiers make a sentence more descriptive and interesting. Objects are nouns or pronouns, and there's three types of objects. There's a direct object, an indirect object, and an object of the preposition. And when it comes to a little bit of vocabulary, we're going to talk about things like root words, prefixes, suffixes, so that you can know how words are really what they're made up of, and you can find the meaning of a word based on the root words, prefix, or suffixes. So determining the meaning, it can be based on these three things, right? So a root word is the most basic part of a word, and you can create new words from that root word by adding a prefix or a group of letters placed before the root word. Or you can add a suffix, which is going to be a group of words at the end of a word. You'll need to be familiar with kind of finding and using context clues within a sentence to determine what that word means, and also have some familiarity with multiple meaning words. So using context clues means really using the other words around the word they're asking about to determine what the context of the word is or what they mean by that word. So you can define what the word means by the different words around it. That's using context clues. Now, multiple meaning words are going to be words that we might encounter in text that could have different meanings, and we need to determine what the meaning of the word is based on kind of the context. So we would look at things like current, right? That could be an electrical current or a current in a river. And we're going to use the surrounding sentences, the surrounding words to determine which meaning of current do they mean. You could also consider season, right? That could be a time of year, or it could be a spice. So knowing kind of what that word means based on context clues, different words that are around it, are something that you might have to do for the test. Now, synonyms, antonyms, and analogies. We should be somewhat familiar with these, but we can give a quick rundown of them. Synonyms are going to be words that have the same or very close meaning. So say irritated and annoyed. Those are very similar words that have the same meaning. Antonyms are going to be words that are the opposite. So hard and soft, fast and slow. Those are antonyms. Now, analogies are a comparison between two things. Usually it's represented with colons if you're reading it. So say dog, puppy, and cat, kitten. And the way you would read that aloud is a dog is to puppy as a cat is to kitten. Those are analogies. So those are things that might come up on the test. So be familiar with that. Now, that's everything that you'll see on the test. Again, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. We have deeper dives into all these topics. And like I mentioned, this is really just to go over what's on the test. If you want to do the deeper dive of exactly learning more of that material, check out our online course. We've got over 100 video lessons that really cover all this stuff. Lesson modules, flashcards, practice tests, test banks, all that good stuff is in the course. It's all in the links in the description below. You can also check out the free practice test. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video.